There's a strange pattern you start noticing after you've spent enough time walking through neighborhoods. You can drive past two homes built in the same year, on the same street, with the same size lot, and somehow one looks like it belongs in a magazine, while the other feels cluttered, chaotic, or strangely unfinished. What's surprising is that the difference usually isn't money. It isn't rare plants, it isn't expensive landscaping, and it definitely isn't who spends the most time gardening. More often than not, the difference comes down to where things were planted. Because in gardening, a beautiful flower in the wrong place can create more problems than an average flower in the right place. Most homeowners spend a lot of time choosing plants. Very few spend enough time choosing locations. And that's where things start to go sideways. A flower that looks incredible at the garden center may struggle all summer because it never receives enough sunlight. A plant that promises months of blooms may disappear behind a shrub that eventually triples in size. A colorful border can become a maintenance nightmare simply because it was placed where people constantly walk. The result? Plants suffer. The yard feels unbalanced, and homeowners often blame the plant itself when the real problem was the location from the beginning. If you've ever planted something that should have thrived but somehow didn't, if you've ever looked at your garden and felt like something wasn't quite right, or if you've ever spent money replacing the same flowers year after year, there's a good chance placement played a bigger role than you realized. Today, we're going to look at some of the most common flower placement mistakes homeowners make. Not because the flowers are bad, not because the gardeners are inexperienced, but because certain locations create problems that even the best plants can't overcome. And once you start recognizing these mistakes, you'll never look at a yard the same way again. Mistake 1. Treating foundation beds like flower beds. One of the most common mistakes happens right in front of the house. It's easy to understand why. The area along the foundation feels important. It's highly visible. Guests see it. Neighbors see it. You see it every time you pull into the driveway. So naturally, many homeowners think, this is where all the flowers should go. The result is often a long row of colorful annuals packed tightly against the house. For a few weeks, it looks fantastic. Then summer arrives. And problems begin. The first issue is heat. Most homeowners don't realize how much heat a house reflects: brick, stone, concrete, siding. All of these surfaces absorb sunlight during the day and release heat back into the landscape. Flowers planted directly against these surfaces are often dealing with temperatures much higher than the rest of the yard. The second issue is moisture. Roof overhangs frequently block rainfall from reaching foundation beds evenly. One section may stay relatively dry, while another receives runoff from a gutter. Plants that like consistent moisture suddenly face completely different growing conditions just a few feet apart. Then there's maintenance. Flower beds placed directly against the house can quickly become difficult to access. Pruning, deadheading, weeding, watering. Everything becomes harder when you're squeezed between plants and a wall. Professional landscape designers often think differently. Instead of making flowers the foundation of the foundation bed, they usually build structure first. Evergreen shrubs, compact shrubs, small ornamental plants. Plants that provide visual stability year-round. Then flowers are layered around that structure. The flowers become accents, not the entire design. This is one of those landscaping concepts that completely changes how a yard feels. Flowers create excitement. Structure creates beauty. Without structure, even beautiful flowers can look temporary. Have you ever noticed how some landscapes still look attractive in January? That's usually not because of flowers. It's because someone planned the structure first. And that brings us to another placement mistake that's surprisingly common. Mistake 2. Planting flowers where people actually walk. Many homeowners design gardens from the perspective of standing still, but landscapes aren't viewed standing still. They're experienced while moving, walking to the mailbox, walking to the front door, walking around the backyard, carrying groceries, walking dogs, hosting family gatherings, and that's where placement problems start appearing. A flower may look wonderful from the patio, but if it constantly gets stepped on because it's too close to a pathway, it eventually becomes a source of frustration. You can often spot this mistake by looking at the edges of walkways. Plants become flattened, blooms disappear, stems break, the garden slowly loses its shape. The homeowner responds by replacing plants, then replacing them again, then wondering why nothing survives. The real issue isn't the flower, it's traffic. People naturally take shortcuts. They cut corners, they avoid obstacles. They create movement patterns, whether designers plan for them or not. Good landscaping works with those patterns. Bad landscaping fights them. One simple rule many professionals follow is this: the more foot traffic an area receives, the more durable the surrounding plants need to be. Delicate flowering plants often perform best where they can be appreciated without constantly being brushed, stepped on, or bumped into. This seems obvious once you see it, but countless gardens struggle because flowers were chosen before movement patterns were considered. In a way, landscaping is a little like interior design. You wouldn't put a fragile glass table in the middle of a busy hallway. Yet people accidentally do the gardening equivalent every year. And sometimes the problem isn't people. Sometimes it's something far more predictable: the sun. Mistake 3: ignoring how the sun actually moves across the yard. One of the most expensive mistakes homeowners make starts with a simple assumption: this area gets plenty of sun. But does it? Not at noon, not for 1 hour, not during a garden center visit all day, throughout the growing season. The difference is enormous. A location that appears sunny during breakfast might sit in shade all afternoon. A flower bed that receives 6 hours of sunlight in spring may receive only 3 once nearby trees fully leaf out. Many gardeners evaluate sunlight based on memory. Professionals evaluate sunlight based on observation. The distinction matters a lot because plants don't care how sunny a location feels, they care how many hours of direct light they actually receive. This is why some flower beds become permanent disappointment zones. Every year, new plants are installed. Every year, performance remains mediocre. Every year, homeowners wonder why garden center photos never match reality. Meanwhile, the real issue has been sitting overhead the entire time: shade, or sometimes too much sun. Certain flowers that thrive in morning sunlight struggle when exposed to intense afternoon heat. Others demand full sun and become weak, stretched, and sparse when planted under partial shade. The placement mistake isn't choosing the wrong flower. It's choosing the wrong location for that flower's needs. And once a plant starts fighting its environment, it rarely performs at its full potential. The most successful gardeners often spend more time studying locations than studying plants. Because once you understand your yard's conditions, plant selection becomes dramatically easier. And there's another condition that many homeowners overlook completely, one that stays hidden underground. Mistake 4: planting flowers in competition zones. At first glance, the spot looks perfect. There's open space, some sunlight, good visibility, plenty of room, so flowers go in. Then something strange happens. Growth remains slow. Blooms stay small. Water seems to disappear quickly. The plants never quite achieve what was promised on the label. The hidden problem is often underground competition. Trees are incredible competitors. Large shrubs can be too. Their root systems may extend much farther than most people realize. In many cases, roots stretch well beyond the visible canopy. That means a flower planted several feet away may still be sharing water and nutrients with a much larger plant. And in that competition, the flower rarely wins. Many homeowners unknowingly create these battles every spring. They find an empty area beneath a mature tree, plant colorful flowers, water faithfully, fertilize carefully, and still see disappointing results. The flowers aren't necessarily failing. They're simply competing against an opponent that has a massive underground advantage. Once you understand root competition, a lot of gardening mysteries suddenly make sense. A plant that thrives in one location may struggle just 20 feet away. The flower didn't change, the underground environment did, and some of the worst placement mistakes happen when homeowners focus entirely on what they can see above ground, not what exists below it. Mistake 5: crowding flowers too close to each other. This mistake usually begins with good intentions. A homeowner visits a garden center in spring. Everything looks small, everything looks manageable, and the spacing recommendations on the plant tags seem ridiculous. 18 inches apart, 24 inches apart, 3 feet apart. That feels excessive when the plants are barely larger than a coffee mug. So the natural temptation is to plant them closer together. The bed instantly looks full, colorful, finished, and for a while, it seems like the right decision. Then summer arrives. The plants begin growing, and suddenly what looked abundant starts looking crowded. Air circulation decreases. Leaves remain damp longer after rain. Plants begin competing for sunlight. Some flowers become hidden behind others. Others stretch awkwardly toward available light. The garden starts feeling chaotic rather than lush. One of the most overlooked realities in landscaping is that mature size matters far more than current size. Professional designers rarely design for what a garden looks like today. They design for what it will look like 2 or 3 years from now. That requires patience, something homeowners naturally struggle with because everyone wants immediate results. The irony is that gardens often look better when they initially appear a little sparse. The extra space allows plants to develop their natural form. Flowers become healthier. Maintenance decreases. Diseases become less common, and the overall design feels cleaner. Think about a crowded room. People become uncomfortable, movement becomes difficult. Air feels restricted. Plants aren't that different. They perform best when they have room to breathe. And speaking of breathing, there's another placement mistake that quietly creates maintenance headaches for years. Mistake 6. Planting high-maintenance flowers in hard-to-reach areas. Some flowers ask very little from us. Others ask quite a bit. Deadheading, pruning, dividing, watering, monitoring, seasonal cleanup. None of these tasks are particularly difficult unless the flowers are planted somewhere inconvenient. That's when simple maintenance becomes something homeowners postpone. Then postpone again, then eventually stop doing altogether. A common example is placing flowers deep behind large shrubs. The location may look beautiful on planting day, but 6 months later, reaching those flowers requires squeezing through branches or stretching awkwardly across a bed. Another example occurs on steep slopes. The flowers themselves may be perfectly suited for the location. The homeowner isn't. What seems manageable in spring can become exhausting during summer maintenance. This is especially important for homeowners who plan to remain in their homes long term. A garden that requires increasing physical effort every year often becomes a source of stress rather than enjoyment. Professional landscape designers frequently ask a simple question: how will this be maintained? Not just how it will look, how it will function. A flower that needs regular attention should generally be placed where regular attention is easy. The less convenient the location, the lower the maintenance requirements should be. That small design decision can save countless hours over the life of a landscape. And while convenience matters, visibility matters too. In fact, some flowers fail for a surprisingly human reason. People simply forget they exist. Mistake 7. Hiding your best flowers in the wrong places. This one isn't necessarily harmful to plants, but it's harmful to enjoyment. Many homeowners accidentally place their most beautiful flowers where they rarely see them. The result is strange. The flowers perform wonderfully. The garden succeeds, yet the homeowner receives very little benefit: a spectacular bloom hidden behind a fence, a gorgeous perennial tucked behind a garage, a stunning flower bed located in a corner of the yard that nobody visits. It's similar to hanging artwork inside a closet. The beauty exists, but the experience doesn't. One of the smartest landscaping concepts isn't actually about plants. It's about sightlines. Where do you naturally look? Where do you spend time? What do you see from the kitchen window, the living room, the patio, the front door? The most rewarding flowers are often the ones you encounter repeatedly: morning coffee, taking out the trash, walking the dog, looking through a window during dinner. These moments add up. Professional designers understand that landscaping is experienced daily, not occasionally. A flower viewed 50 times throughout the season often creates more satisfaction than a rarer flower viewed twice. Sometimes improving a garden isn't about adding more plants. Sometimes it's about relocating the right plants. And that brings us to one of the biggest placement mistakes homeowners make when designing flower beds. Mistake 8. Ignoring scale. Scale is one of those landscaping concepts that sounds complicated, but once you understand it, you start seeing it everywhere. Imagine a tiny flower bed surrounding a large 2-story home. No matter how beautiful the flowers are, the house visually overwhelms them. Now imagine giant plants crowded into a narrow front walkway. The plants overwhelm the space. In both situations, scale feels wrong. Flowers should relate to their surroundings: the size of nearby structures, the size of nearby shrubs, the size of the viewing distance. A common mistake occurs when homeowners choose flowers solely based on bloom color. Color matters, but size matters too. A flower that reaches 2 feet tall creates a completely different visual effect than one that reaches 6 inches. Likewise, tall flowers placed at the very front of a bed often block everything behind them. Short flowers hidden in the back disappear entirely. Good garden design creates visual layers: tall, medium, low. The eye moves comfortably through the landscape. Nothing feels crowded. Nothing feels lost. When scale works correctly, viewers often don't consciously notice. They simply think the yard looks good. When scale fails, something feels off, even if they can't explain why. And one of the biggest reasons scale fails is because homeowners underestimate how much plants change over time, which leads directly to the next mistake. Mistake 9. Planting for today instead of 3 years from now. Gardens are unusual because they are never finished. The landscape you plant this year won't be the same landscape you see next year, or 3 years from now, or 5 years from now. Yet many planting decisions are based entirely on the present moment. What looks good today? What fills the space immediately? What creates instant impact? The challenge is that plants grow, sometimes slowly, sometimes aggressively. Flowers that seem perfectly placed during their first season may become crowded, later views become blocked. Maintenance increases, design balance disappears. Experienced gardeners often think ahead. They visualize future growth. They imagine mature size. They anticipate how plants will interact over time. This perspective changes everything. Instead of asking, "How does this look today?" they ask, "How will this look in 3 years?" That single question prevents countless placement mistakes. And perhaps more importantly, it prevents a lot of unnecessary work. Because relocating mature plants is far harder than placing them correctly from the beginning, and yet, even when homeowners consider future growth, one major factor still gets overlooked: water. Mistake 10: putting thirsty flowers in dry zones. Watering problems aren't always caused by forgetfulness. Sometimes they're caused by placement. A flower can be perfectly healthy, perfectly suited for your climate, perfectly planted, and still struggle because it's located in the wrong moisture zone. Most yards aren't uniform. Some areas naturally stay moist, others dry out quickly. Some receive runoff after storms, others shed water almost immediately. Yet many homeowners treat every section of the landscape as if it behaves the same. That's where trouble begins. One flower bed may need watering twice a week. Another may stay adequately moist for days after rainfall. When flowers with high moisture demands are placed in naturally dry locations, maintenance increases dramatically. The homeowner ends up compensating for poor placement through constant watering. And eventually, many stop, not because they're lazy, because life gets busy. The smartest landscapes often work with natural conditions instead of fighting them. Plants that prefer drier conditions go where the soil dries quickly. Plants that appreciate more moisture go where moisture naturally lingers. Once you start matching plants to moisture patterns, gardening becomes easier. Water bills often decrease, plant health improves, and the landscape becomes more resilient during hot weather. This is one of those principles that professional designers quietly rely on all the time. The goal isn't to force a location to support a plant. The goal is to find the plant that already wants to live there. Why these mistakes keep happening. At this point, you might notice something interesting. Very few of these mistakes are actually about flowers. They're about decisions, observation, planning, understanding how a landscape functions. Most homeowners spend far more time asking, "What should I plant?" than asking, "Where should I plant it?" And that's completely understandable. Plants are exciting. Locations are not, at least at first. Garden centers sell flowers. They don't sell sunlight patterns. They don't sell traffic flow. They don't sell sightlines. They don't sell route competition. Yet those invisible factors often determine whether a garden succeeds or struggles. In many cases, homeowners replace plants when they should be evaluating locations. They blame the flower blames the location, and the cycle repeats year after year. The good news is that placement mistakes are usually fixable. Sometimes the solution is moving a plant. Sometimes it's redesigning a bed. Sometimes it's simply understanding your yard better than you did before. And once you start looking at your landscape through that lens, you begin noticing things you never saw before. You notice where shade arrives in the afternoon. You notice where water collects after rain. You notice where people naturally walk. You notice which areas always seem to thrive. The yard starts revealing its patterns, and those patterns become some of the most valuable gardening information you'll ever learn. Finally, one of the biggest gardening lessons many homeowners eventually discover is that success isn't always about buying better plants. It's often about putting good plants in better places. The right flower in the wrong location will spend its life struggling. The right flower in the right location often seems almost effortless. That's why experienced gardeners become observers. They watch, they learn, they pay attention to how their landscape behaves. And over time, their planting decisions become more successful because they're working with the yard instead of against it. So the next time you're standing in a garden center looking at a beautiful flower, try asking a different question. Not, "Do I like this plant?" but, "Where in my yard actually wants this plant?" That simple shift in thinking can completely change the way your landscape grows, and it might save you a lot of time, money, and frustration along the way. Have you noticed any of these placement mistakes in your own yard? Or have you learned one the hard way? Gardening has a way of teaching lessons that stick, and sometimes the most valuable lessons come from a plant that was simply in the wrong place.